everybody, and welcome to the Mind of Marlin and another Treetop Talk indoor edition. It's raining outside. Today's story is The Apprentices' Dark Sorcery. Now, many of us may remember Disney's classic Fantasia, in which there was a particular segment that has burned itself into our collective consciousness called The Sorcerer's Apprentice, where Mickey Mouse watches the sorcerer do sorcery things and tries it for himself. It's an ancient tale. It goes back to Greece and Egyptian times and was retold in the 1700s by Goethe. You don't have to look very far for the moral of the story, and the theme is this: you should always respect learning and experience and never meddle in things you do not understand. In a way, that element was used in Star Wars as Obi-Wan Kenobi tried to be Anakin Skywalker's mentor, his teacher. But Obi-Wan was not as wise as Yoda. And we all know what happened to Anakin. But back to our story about the Sorcerer's Apprentice. One night, instead of going to bed, the apprentice hid in the cupboard in the kitchen, and he heard the sorcerer come in and speak to the broom. "Come now, broom, and stand to attention. Listen carefully to the tasks I mention. Your first job tonight is to clean the floor. But hold on a minute, for there's one more. I fancy a rest in a nice hot tub. Heat the bath while the floor you scrub. That's it for now. You've heard my spell. Hurry up and do it all well." Well, once his boss retires for the evening, Mickey puts on the hat and plays at being the sorcerer. And when I say plays at it, I mean he really doesn't know what he's doing and learns a little knowledge is a dangerous thing and how a little danger is a knowledgeable thing. So he commands the broom to haul the water for him to fill the tub the way he saw the sorcerer do. But he doesn't know how to make the broom stop. The water just keeps coming, and soon his tub is overflowing and the place is flooding. The audience quickly sees he's out of his league. He's in over his head, and it won't end well for the apprentice. In desperation, he takes an axe and chops the broom to bits, thinking that, after all is said and done, there's nothing left to say or do. But now, each bit of the broom comes to life and continues to carry his water. He can't make it stop no matter what he does. I use this as a parable for the 45th president, Donald Trump, who also played at being president, as he really didn't know what he was doing. He knew nothing of governance, consensus building, policy, foreign affairs, the Constitution. And we came to learn he didn't know much about just plain old human honesty, decency, and compassion. Take a look. Here's the X-45th next to the words, "The Apprentice." This is what made him famous. If it wasn't for the show, he never would have been elected. And they didn't call the show tycoon, mogul, billionaire, empire builder, magnate, or captain of industry, but the apprentice. He never caught on to the irony that it was called The Apprentice and used his image next to the word. So he was always nothing more than an apprentice and will always be seen as someone who never had respect for learning and experience. Even his big line is a big lie. He used to say, what's the line? "You're fired." But he never hired these people in the first place. And if they were fired, did they get to collect unemployment? He watched dictators in other countries and wanted to be like them, unquestioned and in absolute control. So, like the Sorcerer's Apprentice, he put on the hat and pretended to be a strong man without having any knowledge of what he was doing. He played to his base in the basest of ways, preying on their fears like dictators do. He cast his followers as the ones who were the aggrieved party and unleashed their hatred and fear in the same way that Mickey Mouse unleashed the brooms, except it was the MAGA right who were carrying Trump's water. Like dictators who wish to consolidate power, Trump vilified segments of the population where the MAGA right could aim their hatred and fear. But, like Mickey Mouse, Trump didn't know how to control what he had awakened with his dark sorcery. Now, when the FBI says they will leave no stone unturned to find the culprits of the Capitol siege, they reconfirm that this is where the extreme right has been hiding under all these years, under rocks. I can think of all kinds of things that come crawling out whenever you turn over a rock. How about you? Trump got to fly away on Marine One instead of being carried out on a rail, tarred and feathered like the old days. Trump thought he could bring down our democracy and install himself as a dictator. Because I don't think Trump had the capacity to generate his own ideas, as was made evident by the parroting he did of Fox News. It is a greater likelihood that someone put the idea into his head that he could continue to serve, even though he was voted out of office. Like the brooms, the people who continue to support and maintain the big lie, the election was a fake, they will continue to march and carry that water even now that Trump is left for good. And I do mean the greater good. Mickey was drowning from his amateurish attempt at being a sorcerer, and now Donald will be drowning in a sea of litigation, legal exposure, indictments from the Attorney General and District Attorney of New York, hush money payments, defamation suits, a defamation suit that probably needs tailoring, the AG of Georgia for election meddling, trial by the Senate for insurrection, insurance fraud, tax fraud, money laundering, and the list goes on. Like Mickey, there's no way out of the sea of debt that is coming as unrelentingly as the tide. In the story, the sorcerer finally shows up and sets things right and creates order out of chaos, the apprentice unleashed. Not unlike Biden having to come in and clean up what Trump wrought. Donald, like Mickey, thought by breaking things would be doing something constructive, but unlike the sorcerer's apprentice, who had a desire to learn to be better, who saw what he had done and knew things were out of control, Trump has no sense that things were out of control because he could still play golf. He had no self-remorse, no sense of accountability, or the capacity to recognize the damage he had done because he will ever be focused on what was done to him. And the big difference? Mickey was a mouse and Donald is a rat. Thank you for taking the time. I hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you next week. Aloha, everybody. Stay safe. Namaste. Now must go.